Yes, world family. Well, today I am going to give you a little understanding of what is happening and how things put together really work. Now, the first thing I want to look at is a text from in the Bible, and that text states that out of evil cometh good, and out of bitter cometh sweet. Now, that clearly needs some form of explanation. So I am going to use scientific and mathematical means to explain that. Now in mathematics it states that if you have two negatives, which is a minus, so if you have minus and minus, and you put two minuses together, what you will end up with is a positive. But if you have a positive, which is a plus, and a negative, which is a minus, and you put those together, you would end up with a negative, which is a minus. So plus and minus gives you minus. But if you have a plus and you put it with another plus, it remains a plus. And if you have two negatives, which is two minus, and you add them, you get a plus. But if you had a minus and a plus, you get a minus. And clearly that is the explanation, meaning you don't put good with bad and expect to get good. If you put something good with something bad, you will get something bad. But if you have one bad thing over here and you inject another bad situation from over there and you clench them together, they cancel themselves. So evil, which is negative, cancels itself. And this is why you can understand why the world keep changing to find the answers. And the more they inject negative, they end up with a positive, and they inject back another negative, and so they get negative. And I'm going to show you clearly how that works. Now we look at World War II. Started in 1930, 38, 39, somewhere there. And you had the German, the Italians, and the Japanese. Evil. That's negative. And then you had the British, the French, the Americans, and the Soviet Union. So at one point in time, America and Soviet Union was fighting on the same side. And so the both negatives came together and they clashed. And what came out of it? A plus. What was the plus? Mankind had suddenly realized that, you know something? With all the negatives that came out of the war, it taught us how to behave amongst ourselves in a positive way. And so that was the positive. The United Nations, where a group of nations coming together to set a positive agenda as to how we and the world should coexist, which was positive. So the United Nations was something positive. But the very same nations that helped to bring forth that positive went back and inject negative with the positive. And so they brought it back to a negative. And I can show you how. Now in the United Nations, it gives us clear structures, clear laws. We came upon international law to even to deal with war, because we came upon things that we said, even though we are fighting, if two nations fighting, this is what they should not do, and this is what they should not do, because this will amount to a war crime. So that was the positive that came out of out of World War II. We recognized that torture was not right. We recognize that if an army surrender, you don't shoot them. We recognize that if you injure an enemy, you nurse back that enemy to good health, and you capture him, and you trade him. So therefore, nations would realize that if we are fighting war, there are certain things that your enemy is not supposed to do, and you're not supposed to do the same. And it gives us international laws of the sea. You know, everything that was good came out of the United Nations. And it made the world a better place, because man had somewhere to go to vent out his feelings, to report on another nation that was violating international laws. And what better system, what better thing you could have than the United Nations? But the very same nations, and I'm talking the bigger nations, they come together and they said, oh, well, if we give even a little small nation that doesn't have anything, and we give them the same power as us, what would that be? We are big and we are mightyful, therefore we must have power. And that was an injection of negative within the United Nations. And so they came up with the veto power, where countries like United States, Russia, China, England, and a few more large states figured that they need to have more power than the rest of nations. And some nations within the United Nations didn't even have a voice. And so they used that veto power to destroy the United Nations, to make the United Nations a rubber stamp of themselves. And what they did later down, so you found out that after we went through World War II, and the world was moving on a positive path to peace, lasting peace, what did the large nation do? They interject negatives within the United Nations so as to control the United Nations, so as to bring back the world to a negative where we can hate ourselves and we can fight against ourselves. And so that would give them more power to rule and to dominate. That was not what the United Nations was about. And that didn't stop them. That didn't stop them. So you know what they did? They interject even more negative into the United Nations because they came up with NATO. And NATO was formed in 1945. The United Nations was formed, NATO was formed in 1949. Yes, sorry. And the United Nations was formed 1945. 4 years before NATO. So what NATO did? Oh, we need to have more power than Russia. And we need to defeat Russia. Because we don't like communism. And we think that our system is the right system. And this is what should dominate the world. And so they came up with NATO. And NATO was a deterrent to the to Russia, to the Soviet Union. That's what NATO was formed to do as a buffer to the to the Soviet Union. And so you found out now that even if a nation is doing wrong, because that nation is within NATO, they are protected by NATO. They were not protected by the United Nations. The United Nations would scold them. And they would have to apply by the international law. You look at another thing again, and what the United States is doing with Israel is also another negative. Because no matter what Israel do, look at the war crimes that Israel is committing now. Israel has killed so many civilians. And they claim that, oh, we have to kill them because terrorists is among them. So you kill them. Under the international law, you're not supposed to arm journalists. Journalists supposed to have a free space in and out. And you are supposed to allow the journalists to come in and see what you're doing. And today we see journalists losing their lives. And the United States is silent on that. How can we be silent on that? How can we be silent on killing children, babies? Look how many babies we see being killed. Women, old people. And the United States under Joe Biden is silent on that. And the two political parties is silent on that. Not the United States people. People of within the United States have a conscience. And they know that that is wrong. Because what is done to you, what is done to them, can be another time be done to us. And so, the United Nations now has become a rubber stamp, has become useless by the same people that formed the United Nations. But what they did, they only formed the United Nations to give themselves leverage and to oppose and to castigate the other side. But when it comes on to them, what they did, they violated. Look how many violations we have done to the United Nations. And yet we strengthen NATO. Why are we strengthening NATO and diminishing the United Nations? When NATO is a negative, the United Nations is a positive. If we strengthen the United Nations, we will be strengthening every country, including Russia and the United States, China, Japan. All those big countries will be strengthened. But what? We don't see it that way. We believe in strength through aggression. And the more aggressive we can be, the more big bombs that we make, is the safer we are going to be. But you know something? And I will tell you this. Whenever you form, and this is how God works, you know. God will never come down on earth and to mix up with negatives. Because God will get negative if God mix with negative. God cannot fight. But God set His laws. And His laws are universal. And no matter how much negative that you put within the system, it will turn out to be a positive. Because evil fights against evil. And when evil fights against evil, good comes out of it. But when you interject evil back into it, you bring it back to an evil. And I say this without any apologies to anyone, because I answer to no man other than God Himself. Because you can kill this body, but you can't take my soul. And my soul belongs to God. I will obey your laws. But I will never, ever allow any man to bring me to a negative. I am a positive. Because that's what God wants for all of us. And that is why you find out when we fight against ourselves, we come to the realization that it doesn't make sense. And so we emerge a positive again. And then the devil bring it back to a negative. And we say we are strong. You're not strong by the amount of bombs that you make. Bombs doesn't make you strong. You are a weakling. And that is why you choose to make all these bombs. Because without these bombs, you are nothing. Nothing. And what you make these bombs to do? What is the purpose of making bombs? To kill human being. So when you kill human being, it will make it better for you because you can take what they have and make it become yours. But the minute you do that, somebody else is planning to take it from you. And I see what the world is heading for. We are heading for World War III. And make no mistake, World War III will be more devastating than any war we has ever fought. Because World War III will clean up the world. And these nations that are powerful and mighty will be destroyed by them own self. You will be destroyed by your own bombs. Because you know something? There is a bomb called what they call it, the nukes. Nuclear bombs. And we have seen the devastation of nuclear bombs already. And we are going to see it again. And this time, what is going to happen is that the world, not just one, the world will go back to become primitive again. And we'll have to start all over. Because although it doesn't matter how much nuclear bombs you want to have, one nuclear bomb can devastate you that you never come back. Just one. And this is what we're playing with. We are playing with fire. And it's gonna burn. And I'm telling you, nuclear bomb, it's gonna clean up the world. It's gonna make us poor again. Man will have to start all over. If there is man still on the earth. Because what I see going on now is the powerful nation fighting the weaker nation. They're not fighting nation that can fight them. They're fighting nation that cannot stand up to their mighty full bombs. But that is not going to last. Because remember this, we're all human beings. And we all have a brain. And whatever your brain taught you to do, their brain can teach them. And teach them even better than yours. Because there is a thing that coming out, you call it artificial intelligence. And even a little 10-year-old can use artificial intelligence to create damage, to destroy. And so we have to know exactly what we're doing. Because I see what is happening now, and I see how terrible and how brutal some people can get when they have absolute power. And we see the absolute power playing out now with Israel. Israel has absolute power over the rest of their neighbors. And where is this absolute power coming from? It is coming from us. We give them the power. So you think when they go back and to develop something that can equate to what we have, you think it's just Israel alone they're going to destroy? They're going to destroy us. Because we gave Israel the power. Family of the world, this is not good. This is not good. Because when you have an imbalance in the power structure, this is what you find happening. Because I can remember, even before the Ukraine war, when Russia was in the Middle East, the United States would not bomb Russia. They would notify Russia that we are going to strike, but we are not striking you. So they convey that to Russia. Why? Because Russia could think that they are after them and destroy them. And that would start a nuclear war. So they didn't want a nuclear war. But they knew that Iran never had nuclear. And so they would just bomb the Iranians wherever they are and claim that they are terrorists and they are stirring up trouble. But what trouble they're stirring up? They're a part of the Middle East. They have a right to be there. We are not the Middle East. They have more right to be in the Middle East than us. But yet, we don't want them to defend Muslims, because that's what they're doing. They're defending themselves as Muslims because they figure it out that we are after them because they are Muslims. That is what they get in the back of their head. Because we don't fight the Zionists, we support Zionism. And we destroy Muslim. So you think the Muslim not realizing what is happening? And you don't think that they're gonna regroup themselves and come back at us? We're all gonna be destroyed, you know that. Because we can still destroy them. But they can destroy us. Kim Jong-un can destroy America. He has nuclear. America can destroy him because America have nuclear. Israel, the only country in the Middle East that has nuclear. How the hell they got nuclear? Ask yourself that question. And we allowed a little country like Israel to acquire nuclear. But we are saying that Iran shouldn't have nuclear. What are we saying? So you think the Saudis are not watching? You think that the rest of the Middle East is not watching what we're doing to Iran? We are going to have an arms race. And it's going to be a nuclear. And you see Russia is regrouping. They're regrouping and they are including Iran. So Iran will be a part of them. You have Russia and China, Russia and North Korea. And what do you think is going to happen? So they are going to be the buffer. Because we had the power. And you know what we do? We squandered it. We squandered it. We squandered it on Israel. Israel never had to be what it is. Israel could be a nice place. But we choose to use Israel to make Israel be a constant war zone. The Israeli government, the politicians, they are the evil, not the people, not the United States people, not the Russian people, not the Chinese people. It is the government. It is the government. And it is a politician that forms the government. You, all you politicians, you are nothing but criminals. You are criminals. Because you spend the people's money like you're spending your own money. And when you're supposed to spend the people's money back on the people, you say, oh no, we can't do that. But look how much money you spend on war. But you can't spend it on the people. You spend the people's money on war. That is not even your war. and the people's money, you cannot spend it on the people? What the hell are you? You know, family, I think my time, I'm gonna cut off now. But this argument is not finished. And we as a people must become more skeptical about our politicians. Because when I look at what our politicians are doing, they are criminals. Criminals on both sides. Criminals on both sides. And I have nothing but scorn and disgust for politicians. Because they are not working within the interests of people. You take the people's money and you use the people's money to buy the people. How can you do that? And then you use the people's money to throw it away and say you are protecting the people. You are not protecting the people. You are not even protecting yourself. Who the hell are you working for? You still working for the devil? Come on, man. Let us eradicate the negatives, man. Empower the United Nations, man. Dismantle NATO. NATO need to be dismantled. And to empower the United Nations. Get rid of the veto power within the United Nations. Because there is another way. And if you don't know, the people can show you another way. And that's how it is.